So this is our sign out pitch. It's a simple solution for a more sustainable future. I'm Mitchell.
And I'm Hayden. So to open with, we're going to just cover a quick presentation overview. We're going to talk about the task at hand, our current model and how it works, some of the benefits and impacts of said model, future development and implementation, and a concluding statement. So what is the task at hand? We hope to develop a more sustainable recycling program that revolves around sign-out logistics. China, as well as the entire world, is suffering from a lack of sustainable recycling practices. More and more waste is ending up in landfills that are already at and passing capacity. And as the world population grows, the demand for such a system has never been higher. One key area that many recycling programs fall short on is adequate transportation. We feel that Signow is in an excellent position to both profit from and be at the forefront of this program by taking on this role of being a sustainably minded logistics company.
Okay, so I'll be explaining what our model is and how it works. So our model is a hybrid model that incorporates aspects of both a circular flow economy and a hub and spoke model. Now, both of these models do exist within economies to some extent across the world. Normally, the reverse logistics process is a circular flow model, and the United States airline industry is an example that uses a hub and spoke model. So our model combines these two as seen on the slide here. We have that circular shape, and the hub and spoke comes into play by adding additional grocery stores or facilities to the existing model. In addition to this model, we plan on having Signow be the sole carrier throughout the entire model. Signow will provide the transportation and the supply chain management solutions for each element within the model, and that's how they will profit. So the model to the right helps better explain that. So Signow is just providing that transportation for each supply chain stakeholder within our model to the left. So grocery stores, recycling facilities, and so forth. And they're getting money from that, and that's how they're going to profit. So before I provide an example of how our model works, I must note a few things. At first glance, you may be wondering, why grocery stores? Well, we want Signow to partner with grocery stores because one, the fact that people will frequently go to grocery stores all the time over other service-oriented industries, such as restaurants or hair salons. Food is a necessity. People need it to live. People are going to go to grocery stores regardless. The second reasons Signow should partner with grocery stores is because they already have dedicated resources for collecting waste, such as cardboard balers. You might also be wondering, how do the recyclables reach the grocery store? Well, we plan on having consumers bring their recyclables to the store in exchange for some type of coupon. The store will then have palletized Signow bins where consumers can easily deposit them. These bins, along with cardboard bales, will be loaded onto a trailer at the store's loading dock. Now I'll give you a brief example of how our model works. So let's say the grocery store seen on the slide here receives 2 shipments per week from the grocery distribution center. Let's say the first shipment is on a Monday and the second shipment is on a Thursday. So Monday's trailer will be unloaded by store employees. This trailer will then be filled with the recyclables and cardboard bales until Thursday. The shipment that arrives at the store on Thursday will be dropped off by the driver at the loading dock. The driver will then proceed to hook on to the other trailer that's filled with the recyclables. This is just a traditional drop and hook move that is typically used in the United States trucking industry. So after completing the drop and hook, the driver will proceed to the recycling facility where the recyclables can be categorized, sorted, compacted, and so forth. From here, the driver will likely perform another drop and hook, as there will likely be a trailer that contains already processed recyclables. The driver will then travel to a box, glass, plastic, or aluminum can manufacturer. From there, they will travel to a food packaging plant where the boxes, glass jars, plastic bottles, aluminum cans will be needed in the production and packaging of food products. Finally, the food manufacturing plant will receive orders from the grocery distribution center, and then the grocery distribution center will receive orders from each individual grocery store. Thus, the recyclables that began this entire process will eventually be cycled through and will be continually reused.
So next, we're gonna cover the benefits and impacts. So the first benefit is a reduction of cost and profitability for Sinow. Our solution is going to reduce costs and increase profitability by consolidating through fewer LTO or less than truckload NTL truckload movements. As mentioned in the press release, when large equipment can be used, the cost per cubic foot or cost per ton mile hauled goes down. For example, our model incorporates the use of Western 53-foot drive-in trailers or Chinese equivalents to transport recyclables and products between recycling facilities, manufacturers, producers of packaged foods, and finally, distributors. Sinow's profit stems from being the sole for-hire carrier, facilitating the movements of these goods between each location. However, depending on existing infrastructure or city layout, smaller, more box-style trucks can also be incorporated, entering our model at any stage, ensuring an increased number of locations are reached and customers served. Said recyclables or products then enter the model, and thus the process continues. Regardless, we must utilize truck and trailer space most efficiently as a way to avoid empty backhauls, which is the biggest cost drain in the transportation industry. Next, the reduction of emissions. Our model reduces emissions in a simple way from both the consumer and producer perspective. From the producer's perspective, fewer trucks will be needed since we'll be consolidating shipments. This will reduce emissions as there will be less trucks on the road as there would otherwise be, let's say, 2 or 3 companies are transporting all these goods. From the consumer's perspective, the emissions will be reduced because the number of times a consumer will need to use various forms of transportation to travel or commute will be reduced as they're traveling to one central location to perform both tasks of dropping off their groceries and, buying groceries and dropping off recyclables, as opposed to having 2 or more separate locations.
The third benefit is the utilization of existing infrastructure. So as mentioned in the previous slide, both a circular flow economy and a hub and spoke model do exist within an economy to some extent. Therefore, the existing infrastructure will be in place to support our model and will likely prevent any potential costs for constructing additional roads or other sources of transportation infrastructure. The next benefit is that we want to value our customers. In this day and age, people all around the world are busy or on the move from place to place. Time seems so short when we have a list of tasks to complete and we spend time driving to complete these tasks. So as mentioned previously, consolidating 2 tasks, buying groceries and dropping off recyclables, reduces emissions. Consolidating these tasks also saves the consumers time because they will not need to travel to each location separately, making the process of giving up recyclables even easier and quicker. Now, another way we value our customers is we want to make their voices heard. Their desires are constantly changing, so we must be up to date on what they want. So one way we do want to do that is by offering incentives that change from week to week to meet their desires and to motivate consumers to recycle. So 2 ways we plan on incentivizing or retaining customers would be to, again, offer new incentives each week to meet their desires. So if you bring in X amount of recyclables, you get X amount of coupons. Thus, the more you bring in, the more you receive. Second way is by offering a rewards program. So large gas stations and clothing chains located in the United States both offer rewards programs or rewards cards to retain customers and generate revenue for their businesses. Since these ideas have been so successful, why not have a grocery store rewards program for recycling in partnership with Sinow?
Next is the removal of waste and sustainability. Throughout our model, each recyclable components, cardboard, aluminum, glass, and plastic, is continually being reduced, reused, and recycled from each stakeholder. This model then removes waste that would potentially end up in an already stressed landfill and waste management system. Without a similar model to our own and Sinow's supply chain expertise, these items would suffer from having a single life use, potentially ending up in the soil and or water.
Finally, the last benefit is our model encourages cooperation between each stakeholder, such as Sinow, grocery stores, and consumers. And this is how they're going to win out in the model that we provided. So I'll start with Sinow. They benefit in a number of ways. One, they'll be earning a profit from being the sole for hire carrier throughout the entire model. So again, this stems from charging a rate for transporting the goods, recyclables, and packaged products. That'll benefit them and create a profit. The next benefit for sign out, they'll be able to market themselves as a sustainable yet profitable transportation and logistics company. This model and image will prove to be attractive to investors, customers, and other companies hoping to build similar sustainable revenue streams. Final benefit for Sino is the fact that they are creating demand for the transportation of recycled cardboard. Instead of going to waste, this recycled cardboard can be turned into new boxes or packaging for all parties involved. I'll move on to grocery stores and how they benefit. First way is they do not have to transport their own recyclables and freight themselves. As a result, fuel and labor costs will decrease since each store will not need to provide their own trucks or drivers because of their partnership with Sino. Another benefit for the grocery stores, they will see an increase in sales due to more customers entering the store for a number of reasons, such as buying groceries, dropping off their recyclables, or using their newly received coupon deal or discount. And finally, the last benefit for grocery stores is that they will be building a larger base of returning customers. These returning customers know that each trip they make to the store will save them both money on their grocery bill, and they can feel a sense of accomplishment knowing they're making a difference by recycling, meaning they'll return to that grocery store and spend money. And finally, how do consumers win out on this model? Well, there's a variety of ways as well. The first way is they'll be saving time on their chores because we're consolidating tasks at one central location, again, buying groceries and dropping off recyclables. So it saves them time from driving to each location separately. Second benefit, they'll spend less money on fuel and or energy because they're not driving to each of these locations separately. This leads directly into the third benefit. They'll have more money in their pockets. Why? Because they're not driving around, they're not spending on fuel or energy costs. Finally, the last benefit, consumers are going to be happier because they'll have more money in their pockets at the end of the day, and they're going to keep receiving coupons, discounts, or deals from the store if they choose to participate in our recycling program.
Next, future development and implementation. So China as a country has a very dense urban population, with roughly 96% of its entire population residing in the easternmost half of the country. The majority of this population living in the metropolitan areas of Shanghai, Beijing, Wuhan, Nanjing, and Hong Kong. This supports our solution and model by creating a demand for the need to have recyclables transported between locations. This demand is then met by Sino's logistical and supply chain services. Therefore, more revenue is generated for Sino and more recyclables recycled. In these metropolitan areas, the process of implementation would also be expedited, since Sino would have access to both the resources and existing infrastructure to begin operations, thus reducing startup costs and making the model all the more profitable and sustainable. This idea of targeting metropolitan areas can also be extended to other areas of the globe due to existing demand and infrastructure.
The next idea for future development is the addition of a sign out package drop-off or return location. So sign out could further develop their partnership with each grocery store by allowing consumers to pick up or return their sign out packages they ordered online. With this factored in, consumers can now accomplish 3 tasks at the same location: buying the groceries, dropping off the recyclables, and picking up or returning their sign out packages they ordered online. To allow sign out access to a grocery store's sales for having a return/pickup location, the grocery store would charge sign out an agreed upon nominal fee to benefit both parties.
And finally, electric and alternative fuel research. By combining the success of our model with Sino's history of research and development, we feel this solution puts them in the perfect position to replace or phase out diesel and gasoline powered trucks for vehicles that run on other sources of more eco-friendly fuel, including just electric vehicles, hydrogen, other sources that aren't just diesel and gas. By doing this, Sino continues to push its image of being environmentally friendly logistics and supply chain company, dropping overall carbon emissions and setting new standards for sustainability in the field of transportation and supply chain management.
All right, and finally, our concluding statement. The issues of recycling and its lack of a proper supply chain highlighted in this presentation is one that has affected generations current and past. We believe our model for sign out is a sustainable, cost-effective, and profitable solution to an ever-present environmental issue. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that interesting presentation. We're going to go directly into our question and answer period. So Mike, you want to
Yeah,
start with your questions?
yes, thank you very much for the excellent presentation. I guess my first comment really is that kind of focusing on the grocery stores, I think, is quite a smart move. For the reasons that you already highlighted. You know, people need to go there one way or another, so it's quite I thought that was quite a neat solution or a neat focus. So if I could I just check my understanding today, the process, you know, prior to implementation of your solution, the process today looks like the loaded truck arrives at the grocery store and is unloaded while the driver waits and then drives away empty. Is that correct?
No, the driver goes to the grocery store with the shipment of food.
Yep.
Get at the loading dock. They simply unhook that trailer and then attach to the other trailer at a separate loading dock that contains the recyclables. So that way we're
Sorry.
creating
Sorry,
revenue
I meant
opportunities each time.
Sorry, I was thinking today before your process is implemented. Yeah, today would the driver just be with the loaded truck until it was unloaded?
We plan on having the store employees unload the trailer so that the
Sorry.
driver doesn't have to do that themselves. They're just simply transporting the goods.
Sorry, I appreciate that. Maybe I'm maybe not asking the question very clearly. So if we focus on what's process comes into play. So I understand exactly what you're trying to do with the dropping the loaded trailer, picking the recycling up. I get that. I just wondered today, when that process isn't in place, would the driver typically wait with the truck whilst it was unloaded by the grocery store staff, and then he would leave the grocery store with his empty trailer?
Correct. So we want to eliminate that at all costs because you're not making any revenue if you have an empty trailer.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I've operated something similar in the UK a few years back, and as you say, that it really drives efficiency, operational efficiency. It will reduce emissions. There's also the wasted resource of the driver, you know, at expense for the trucking company, that really is made more efficient there. One question, well, a couple of questions on that basis. Now I understand what the position today is. Would there be an issue at the grocery store? And I can only compare it to the UK where I've worked. Would there be issues at the grocery store around space and loading docks, for instance? You know, would that be an issue if a trailer was left on a loading dock for 2 or 3 days? Would that cause congestion at the grocery store, maybe?
I think I answered that question. I'd say that realistically it would cause congestion. I know in the trucking industry here, at least in America, the companies can actually charge a fee for having a trailer drop there. So let's say if Sinow has a trailer there and it's taking up the grocery store space, the grocery store can then charge Sinow for taking up their space at the cost of them leaving their trailer there to either be unloaded or loaded.
Cool, no worries. And the other thing, just playing back from my experience a few years ago, is would Sinow not potentially have other contracts that they were serving? You know, so maybe that empty trailer is required elsewhere locally to serve another customer, rather than them going back to, you know, the original location where they collected the loaded trailer from. Because what we used to do was make what we were trying to do, I think, with the model that we were working, is reduce empty running miles, which is exactly part of the concept you're looking for. But how we did that is that we would sometimes drop empty trailers into distribution centers, collect loaded ones, but then you kind of to make that model work on kind of a regional and national scale, you always needed a number of empty trailers. So if Sinow's operation or part of that operation is absolutely dedicated to this grocery store, then it works perfectly potentially. I just question whether they might have other contracts locally where they would need empty trailers.
Yeah, so I think it's a very valid point and question. I think that, again, Simon will have to do further research, somewhat like a cost analysis of, well, how much are they making from the grocery stores and transporting their goods or from other contracts? Or even then, Simon could then, let's say, invest in more trucks and more trailers and then fulfill, I guess, both contracts and make profit from, both lanes like that. So I guess it'll just depend on the overall cost analysis.
Absolutely. I think, like you said, if you could make it work financially for both parties, it would be worth dedicating a fleet of trucks and trailers to. But in my experience, that wasn't something, as well as you're explaining. But I don't have any other questions beyond that. But thank you very much appreciated. It was a great presentation.
Okay, well, thank you, Mike, for those questions. And I kind of want to build a little bit further onto that, and I kind of like give a little bit of a China scenario, and perhaps a little bit different than what happens in North America. In North America, we know we have these large supermarkets, multiple loading docks that you could leave a trailer there, and perhaps it'd be okay. In China, because especially in the large cities where we don't really have that much space, right? Some supermarkets maybe only have one loading dock that you'd have to rotate them. How would you deal with something like that, where you cannot basically take up one loading dock just for recyclables? What do you think another way to do that?
You could, instead of having the trailer at the loading dock, you could just park it behind the grocery store. And if you want to get the palletized bins or cardboard bales on the truck, which will already be on the bins are palletized, the cardboard bales are on pallets, just use a forklift and put them on the truck that way. It's just a little more work, but that's an idea of what you could do, possibly.
Okay.
I guess just going off what Mitchell said too, I would say that maybe you could then the grocery store could charge sign out to, let's say, like take up more space in the grocery store or out back to then store, like further store the recyclables. Similar to the concept that I just mentioned, as stuff, if something were to happen, it can't be transported, removed, even just given the space constraint, the grocery store can charge sign out for taking up their space, either at the loading dock, outside the loading dock, or even at like a separate location, for instance.
For moving it there. Okay. I know a lot of your solution centered around cardboard boxes, but in the case itself, China seems to be doing fairly well as far as cardboard is concerned, right? They're already recycling tons of cardboard. And their challenge is when they're trying to recycle more items, right? When you're talking about other items and these recycle everything program. How do you think this will play into it? Because if people are dropping off all various things and you put them all in one trailer, would that not cause more work and a higher cost for China to later figure all this stuff out? And how would you streamline that process?
Yeah, so I think I can answer that question as well. So as Mitchell said, with everything would be on pallets. So there would be dedicated pallets to, let's say, cardboard, glass, plastic, whatever it may be. And these pallets can then further be sorted at the recycling facilities, which I would assume already have, I guess, some sort of sorting system or dedicated area, like plastic goes here, glass goes there, cardboard here. So it would take a little more work, but I think just having separate bins, or as they said, the bins on the palletized containers, that would make that, I guess, a little more efficient and streamlined. I think it would probably take more work to then further separate out the cardboard from the plastic and glass, but I don't think consumers are going to be bringing so many, like let's say more than a few glass bottles at a time, a few pieces of plastic, or like just 1 or 2 boxes. I think that effort and work is pretty minimal to, let's say, collect it, toss it in the bin of other cardboard, and then just go from there.
Okay, I'm just wondering, would you like restrict to only certain kind of products that consumers can bring in? Like how would you work that into the system? Because I know you have also an incentive program. Would you be able to somehow, I don't know, like do you give different points for different items that are easier to recycle? Because remember the case was China trying to do that, trying to figure out what are more value added recycling items, and they want to deal more with that than perhaps some items that are very expensive or very difficult to recycle or not really recyclable at all. How do you think you can deal with that?
So I think I can cover that question as well. Like you just said, dedicating certain points to like coupons. So let's say if the demand for glass is higher, and like Mitchell said previously in the presentation, you can change these incentives and rewards on a week-to-week basis, even a daily basis if you needed to, just to meet the ever-growing demand of, let's say, like you need more glass or plastic or cardboard, or if you want less glass, less plastic and cardboard, you can change the coupons and incentives so people feel inclined to bring more of that stuff. There would be a little bit of a delay in terms of customers finding that out, but I feel like just 1 or 2 days should be, I guess, an acceptable amount of time for that to find out. And like I previously just said, the amount of cardboard and stuff to bring in is minimal, so it doesn't take too much effort to, let's say, bring in a thing of glass bottles as opposed to 1 or 2 cardboard boxes. They can just hang on to it for an additional day or two, still knowing they'll receive coupons or discounts for that recyclables they're already hanging on to.
Mhm. Okay, that's great. I don't have any other questions, so thank you very much for that presentation. Thank you, Mike, for judging this and asking the questions. So hopefully we'll get the results in about a week. And best of luck to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
bye-bye.
you very much. Yeah, much
Have a good day,
appreciated.
guys.
Bye.